With the economic survey, Mheshimiwa, and I will not pick the many things that you have highlighted, perhaps just one. For instance, the 2025 economic survey published by the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics noted a decline in construction, including affordable housing projects, despite the government's focus on the affordable housing program. The number of residence units completed by the government halved to 1,655 in 2024. And perhaps just looking at the majority of aspects that have been touched by the economic survey, they paint a grim picture of the performance of the current government. And I want to trust that you have interacted with it. Are you not scared that it would sound like, it's a government where they just pick on one thing and they cram it and they go to the people and they sell that agenda all the way home, overlooking other critical matters of what is of their very own document, the manifesto, the constitution, the rule of law, and basically what is expected as to development in the country?
Let's start from where you've just left. The economic survey is a document that is done by the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. And it has really spoken about the fact that the value chains in this country have really done very well because of our shift from subsidized consumption to subsidized production. And that is why the cost of living has gone down. And that is why our inflation has gone down to an all-time low. And that is why also we've been able, for example, to ensure that we have now our dollar reserves at 9.6 billion US dollars, that we can be able to cover our imports for 6 months without any single dollar. That is why our economy has moved to the third strongest in sub-Saharan Africa, ahead of Ethiopia and Angola, the sixth in the whole of Africa. That is why in the 2023, 2024, 2 years in a row, we have been able to receive the highest number of startup capital. 2023, $800 million. 2024, $638 million, ahead of countries like South Africa and Egypt. That is why, as we speak currently, we've been able, for example, to revitalize the sugar industry. That is why, for example, the coffee now is going up to 148 shillings per kilo. And that is why you find people now in Trans Nzoia and Uasin Gishu are now going back are actually taking up coffee farming, So when you talk about that things are not working, really my take is that yes, we took a country that was really run down, a country that was full of debt, because we are paying a lot of debt, over 1.8 trillion shillings we are paying in debt. But then we've been able to stabilize the economy. Now things are better. You see? And they can only get better. When you talk about affordable housing, what kind of houses are we saying when we have over 700,000 houses that are being at different stages of either design or construction? Right now we're talking about 250,000 jobs created under the construction industry. 139,000 houses are being constructed. Now at Mukuru, we are constructing 13,248 houses. Bed sitters, studios, 1 bedroom, 2 bedrooms. And I mean, when you talk about, it takes time to mature. Remember, some of these projects, people had to go to court and they delayed them, including Taifa Care, including the housing levy. It's now that then the program is starting and we've been able, for example, to expend over 20 billion shillings in this program. So when you talk about the economic survey, you also must look at the year.
The positives are there.
But right now, whatever painful decisions that we made, now we can see clearly there is maturity.
What continues to defeat that argument of we took over a government that was run down is the fact that, again, a majority of you were part of the previous regime. But that aside, if the government is performing as good as you may argue, why is it that you seem to be disturbed by political rhetorics? Why is it that you seem to be disturbed by the voices that perhaps argue otherwise, contrary to what it is that you would want to sell to Kenyans? They say that development in a huge way sells itself. If really there's anything to show, don't you think you really don't even have to make a lot of noise about it?
Thank you. Do you talk about the price of unga? I know.
Well, I do. What makes you say that I don't?
You don't, because
I do.
I don't hear many Kenyans talking about unga. When you talk about coffee, are you not seeing the return of coffee millionaires? When you talk about the issue of sugarcane, are we not talking about 600 million now paid to factory workers who have heretofore never been paid? We even had a sugarcane bonus being distributed to the people of Western Kenya who grow sugar. When you talk about my friend, a certain friend of mine who is a pastor, let me not mention her real name, who unfortunately lost her dear sister. But then the last rights were paid, the last cost, sorry, were paid by Shah over Taifa Care, over 600,000. Those are the things that are working. You know, so people really are speaking. What we are having is overtones of those political detractors. And that is why, as a government, we know very well that when you start inciting Kenyans into political violence, threatening the peace and stability of the country, if we don't have security, it therefore means you cannot be able to govern the country.
All right, I wanted to ask, why is it that it's a big deal when they have all this rhetorics going on? But now that you bring that up, let's narrow it down, not really to discussing personas, but basically what it is that the former deputy president argues, perhaps a Kenyan that you do not want to overlook because of the kind of office he's held at some point in time. He makes, allegations, or perhaps he is worried that his life is in danger. I remember when we were carrying that story, I saw you laughing. I don't want to say sarcastically. I want you to tell us why you think that maybe his statements were misplaced. Don't you think as government you are treating this with a bit of levity, which could cost us in the long run?
No, let's not go that direction. And don't get yourself also involved in that.
All right.
Because
don't you think Kenyans would want to have answers
The
to
government
right.
is there to maintain law and order.
Right.
Right? The government will only come to you if you are not able to account for your actions. For example, if you're a corrupt leader, you cannot explain your wealth. If you are an inciter and you are also seeking, political mileage using very outlandish, by declaring very outlandish statements, when you talk about biological weapons, honestly, sincerely, it's laughable. That's the truth. It is actually laughable. Why? For what reason? Why would the government be interested in that? So really, but now you see some people have launched a new political party. They must also now create a momentum around it and create razzmatazz and drama. And people are very easily hoodwinked by that.